Welcome to Fancast for some proper footy chat. I'm SwoopLuke. We are here with Joe, Jeremy, talking everything footy properly, which is really nice. How are we going, boys?
Very well. Very, very good. Very excited for another Friday night talking about some big topics.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I'm doing good. I'm pretty happy. Lots on the agenda today, which is something, bit of a mix of everything. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Let's go. Kick us off, mate.
First off, we might talk a little bit about Spud's game.
Yes.
It's happening tonight. Maybe we've dated the episode a little bit, but it's happening tonight. Big push for mental health just in general over the last couple of years, but obviously with kind of this game happening. It's partly why the Saints boys aren't here. So, do you want to just kind of talk a little bit about like what it means to you?
Yeah, definitely. Look, I guess I'll kick it off. I'm a big proponent of mental health, looking after yourself. It's okay to be selfish sometimes and really look after yourself. And if that means taking time off social media, if it means, chatting to a family, a friend, loved one, whatever it may be, I'll just come out and say, because it's all open and honest in proper footy chat. So, this week I started therapy again, or started seeing someone to talk to, and if you can afford it, it's great help, and there's other avenues that you can go through to kind of help that. But it's just good to sort of get everything off your chest and out of your head, because your head can be such a pit sometimes. When the snowball starts rolling down that hill, it gets pretty insane. So, just look after yourself, look after your friends, look after your family, and speak out if you need help is my big advice.
100%, because as you say, your head, your inner thoughts can be such a deep pit.
Yep.
And because it's so deep and in this dark place where you're by yourself and very isolated, there are a lot of times where other people around you, your close friends and your family, might not even pick up on that. Mm-hmm. And that's really been epitomised by Spud now, and why he's got Spud's game going, because he was such a big proponent of mental health and talking out and being a good, friend to everyone that he knew, and yet he still had those problems as well. I don't want to liken this to some sort of cleaner, but whenever you have like a dishwasher, you put it cleans your dishes, but who cleans the cleaner? So you can have someone that is always around and trying to be positive in the life of the party, but someone always has to be there also to ask, are you okay? How are you doing?
You summed it up pretty well, man. It doesn't discriminate. That's the other thing.
100%.
It does not discriminate. Like you said, you could be the life of the party, and it just hits you hard one night.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things as well. Like, traditionally, men have always been the sex that hasn't talked about their feelings a lot and talked about what's going on. Yes, you can be strong in a relationship and things like that, but you also, we're also people as well, right? We've still got feelings, things still affect us. Maybe we've left a job and we're feeling down, or change of career, things like that. I know a lot of footballers in general, once they've finished their careers, like, life just changes, right? Every day your routine changes. You now go from playing a game on the weekends to now doing nothing. Yep. So when big things like that happen in your life, maybe you lose a loved one, things like that, it's always good to go and talk about things. As Luke, I'll say as well that I've spoken to people in the past as well.
Yeah.
So, and it helps.
It does. It really does. And look, shout out to St Kilda and Brisbane for this beautiful game in memory of Spud and his family for coming out and being big supporters of this. The Saints TV boys, were talking to some of the members of the family, and they had a big nice episode about it. And it's definitely not something to shy away from. And it's not weak or cowardly to seek help and say that you're not feeling down. Like, it's actually really like it shows how strong you are, and it shows some strength that you are seeking help, because it's the best thing that you can do for yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Someone that really showed a lot of strength, I think, to come out today. Is a bit of a sidetrack from this one. I guess moving on to another topic now, but piggybacking on that show of strength, I like that Jeremy Cameron came out this morning and put out a short clip of himself out there on the farm, saying a big thank you to everybody who reached out to say, with their best wishes, checking in on him, because that really was a very sickening collision that took place last night in that game against Melbourne. Like, Gary Rowan, jeez, what was he thinking?
If that happens, if he hits a Melbourne player, Gary Rowan sees about 6 weeks on the sidelines for that. Should there be a bit of a penalty for Gary Rowan? I know it was talked about in SEN this morning and Twitter and stuff, and you can kind of get into it a little bit, but like you said off air, the health and safety of your own players is just as important as knocking out one of your opposition. I shouldn't be laughing because I'm laughing now because Jeremy Cameron's fine and stuff, and he's going to make a full recovery, and it was sickening, and it was crazy to see, but I don't know, like they're pretty heavy on head knocks and stuff. Probably should have seen maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic because it's always been you've hurt another team. You've done this penalty against the other team, now you need to be punished, right? Whereas there's been so many times as a North supporter, I'll say, like our backline, our tall defenders jumping up and banging into each other. Someone gets a knee in the back, someone gets hit in the face, hit in the back of the head. Maybe they're out for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Does there need to be a little bit more welfare kind of with that during games as well? I know Joe and I have spoken to some AFL players, and the hate that they've got when they've knocked out an opposition player has been immense. Lucky Gary Rowan, didn't do that to a Melbourne fan because he'd be blasted all over Instagram and Facebook for the next 3 weeks. So, yeah, it's really tough one. What do you guys reckon? If something major happens, is it a case of blanket for everybody, or is it just if you do it to an opposition, there's malice in there, well, then you have to be punished for it?
It's really hard because by the letter of the law, if you knock out someone, they're saying you cop a couple of weeks, and if Gary Rowan he turned, he braced, that's textbook for the tribunal to say 3 weeks, right? But I get it. He's it's his own teammate. It's not fine, but it's like, okay, but it's your own teammate. You didn't really mean it. But like, no one really means to knock out anyone. Like,
correct.
Look at that Jordan De Goey hit.
Yep.
He got 3 weeks for that, and Gary Rowan, did something not worse, but just as bad. But it was to his teammate. So luckily, it was only to his teammate.
Yeah.
Unlucky for Jeremy Cameron to be hit, but I don't know. It's just a grey area. There's not much you can really do unless the AFL really want to say, look, it is a blanket rule, like you said.
Yep.
No concussions. You can't turn, brace, whatever. And that's if they're going to get really serious, maybe. But I don't see it happening.
That's part of the big difference, I suppose, between knocking out an opposition player and knocking out your own teammate. Comes to the fact that you've actually sort of jeopardised your own team's success, ability to perhaps win. So for Geelong to get up and win that game last night was very impressive against Melbourne, right? Considering that they knocked out probably one of their most important players on the list very early in the game.
Ironically, Gary Rowan put on a big show after that happened and stood up.
Well, he got booed by the Geelong supporters, so he would have wanted to, when he kicked 3 goals and had a really good game. Yeah, I think that was pretty much what he was trying to do.
He's trying to save his skin, trying to get out of the stadium. Guys, please don't kill me, I promise. I love the club. The fix was not in, but no, honestly, just because you've gone and put your own team's potential success at risk does not mean that what you've just done is severely injure another human being.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't matter if you got into a fight on the street with a family member or with a stranger. The law will still apply to you regardless of who you got into the fight with.
That's true.
He really should. Their MRO should definitely be looking at this and be like, you're going to get some weeks for that.
Yeah. I guess there's always the thing with the tackle as well. We try not to talk about it too much today, but did they try and brace themselves? Did they deliberately not even look and just throw them on the ground? That kind of gets factored into a little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, a player from one team isn't trying to knock out their own team members, but there is cases where, okay, you see your team running, do you try and just grab them and stop them from falling, or do you brace yourself because you know it's going to hurt you, like on the rebound as well?
Yeah, it's a weird one that we will never have the answer for. I would love, and I don't think I've seen it. I've been on my phone all day, so I would have seen it. But I'd love the AFL to come out and say, look, it's fine to knock out your own player. It's going to be okay. Like as long as he's all right. But like, I'd love the AFL to actually come, not clarity, because we're not going to be here and be like, oh, let's ban tackling, let's ban just hitting. But I would love them to say, look, this is XYZ, because there was a bit of commentary like on SEN. David King and Kane Corns was talking about it. Kane Corns said exactly the same thing that we're saying right now. So it is very interesting. It is a good topic for debate. It's one of those ones where there's no fence setting here. You're either on the side of banning him or on the side of not banning him, and that's fine. They're both legitimate answers.
AFL clarity? What? Are you kidding me right now?
That's not coming.
That's happening.
It's funny you say that, right? Because the next topic we've got coming up is the injury changes. The reporting of injury changes next year. So this year they can say low, moderate, whatever. But next year, they're actually going to be forced to, teams are going to be forced to put how many weeks they think players are actually going to be out by. Mandated, I think, maybe today or came out yesterday. So instead of being low, moderate injury, high injury, it's going to be like, we think this guy's going to be out for 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week. It's expected this long, then things could change afterwards. I guess next up on the list that kind of follows on from that is the AFL's proposed changes to the injury teams notifying fans and notifying the AFL how long players are going to actually be out for.
Yep.
Originally, you got your low, moderate, severe injuries, and that was kind of just a blanket. This is how long we think. Whereas now, next year, they're actually proposing that teams say, hey, we believe this guy's going to be out for two weeks. That's it. Potential for more or less, depending on how they go. How do you guys feel about that? And is it going to affect GWS's 2 weeks, players out, and then potentially out for the whole year?
Well, I think West Coast were doing it a lot this year where they would say, XYZ's out for 8 weeks and then he comes back in 4 or 5. I can't remember what player they did it for, might have been a couple of weeks ago, whatever it may be. Like, what's their big thing about that? To me, it honestly doesn't really matter.
I guess it's more accurate reporting on player injuries and things like that, giving the fans and the general AFL community some knowledge and guide, hey, this player is going to be out for this long. Instead of things like injuries just being secret, being like, hey, well, this is how long we think they're going to be out for. Well,
I know with Collingwood, and I don't know what Essendon and the Kangaroos do, but every week we have the injury report come out. Jared Wade will talk about the injuries. So he'll say, okay, Charlie Dean done his foot. He's out for the season, but here's his progress. Do the Essendon and the Kangaroos sort of do that sort of same thing?
We used to give more regular updates, but I think ever since Brad Scott's come into the picture, we've become a lot more cryptic now, actually. It's always been trying to keep the cards close to the chest.
Interesting.
We don't want to give too much information away. And I'm noticing now, like with Draper, because Draper's now out this week. And he says, we don't have a time frame. We don't know when he's going to come back. We'll let you know when we find out.
So that's what they're getting rid of.
Like that, yeah.
Interesting.
Ironically, the guy from North Melbourne that does it actually used to be a Collingwood staff member. So it kind of flowed on a little bit from that. But it really is. It's like, okay, are they just out because they're sick? Or are they out because they've got COVID and they think it's going to be 3 or 4 weeks? Or if it's just like they've hurt themselves at training, trying to get rid of that blanket, okay, he's out, but we're not going to tell you how long for.
Or it could be a fruit salad of reasons why. Like with Clayton Oliver, for example, it starts off with, he's on a hammy, or he's got a finger problem, or he has a blister. Oh, wait, that blister got infected. He has to go to the hospital. His hammy. Oh, that hand he had surgery on. It's just like, are you taking us on a merry-go-round here, or is this legit like a series of unfortunate events?
I guess I can kind of see why they're bringing that in. Like another one is Dangerfield. So last week against Port Adelaide, he gets that knee in the side, collapsed lung, whatever it was, broken ribs, or whatever it may have been, right? And he soldiered on, which was crazy. Geelong's team come out and they put him out as illness. I was like, I don't think a collapsed lung is illness. Like that's what really irks me with the AFL and this. Look, I don't care if they say low to medium or medium, whatever that is, but like, don't piss on my face and tell me it's raining.
Or don't insult the fans' intelligence. Like they know what's happening.
Like illness, just say he's injured. Like illness to me is COVID, is the flu. Is a bit of a sniffles, but illness. If I called in sick and say, not feeling too good today, and work finds out I've got a collapsed lung, and I just called in, it's a bit, it's a little bit different. Like we know that this guy's got broken ribs. Just say, just say injured or rested, or just say omitted. Like it's that sort of clarity that I would love a little bit more. But it's good that they're sort of bringing that in.
Yeah, I guess there's always going to be the cases of Tom Stewart that we think is going to be out for 6 weeks and comes back the week after as well.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's I'd love for them just to clean up that area a little bit.
Meanwhile, Richmond deemed Pickett out for personal reasons, which is very, very aptly put, I think.
Yeah. Well, personal stuff did happen. I mean,
that's true. As long as at least they didn't put illness and he's still in Perth and can't fly over. Like that'll be the different story.
That would be hilarious.
All right, bit of a different change of topic here. Kind of talking about how our teams are going throughout the season, but also generally how the AFL's going. From each of you, I want one player on your respective teams and one from another team. A player who's kind of flying under the radar. Someone who is doing the work, is getting the possessions, maybe kicking a couple of goals every week that isn't really someone who people talk about. Luke, maybe start us off?
So I don't know if you guys watch a lot of Collingwood games, so you might not notice this guy. You heard of Nick Dacos before?
Yep.
You haven't heard of him? So he's just this amazing. He's just under the radar.
You brain who this.
No, look, under the radar, I would say probably maybe Josh Dacos is really under the radar, getting overshadowed a bit by his brother, but he's having probably one of his best seasons on the wing, ranked elite in contested possessions, and he does a lot. I really like before his ankle injury, Bo McCreary's game has been absolutely phenomenal.
Insane. Yep.
He is one of those guys that is just like a cattle dog. Like he would just keep going until he literally just drops and falls. And I can't imagine his recovery after a game, because he's just running and he's getting to 2 or 3 contests. Every single contest, he's at 2 or 3 plays, just running. I think his pressure goes a lot under the radar. Unfortunately, omitted or injured, we don't know, because it's still that sort of ankle hanging over him. But I think he's one Collingwood player that's really flying under the radar for me.
For Essendon, I would say the person flying under the radar who isn't getting enough plaudits so far would be Kyle Langford.
Okay.
I think this guy's been really important for us this year, carrying the forward line whilst also pinch hitting in the back line whenever we've had injuries. And obviously we had no 2 metre Peter for all of this year up until last week. So, he's been immense for us, and he's been someone that we've been really missing over a number of years because his body's always been failing him, and he's one of our leaders at 26 years old. So he's, I can't believe I'm older than this guy. So wow. But yeah, he's just hardly ever seen the guy. So yeah, he's been huge for us. Not getting enough credit there. And I'd say one player from another club that's flying under the radar, doing really good things, probably because he's over in WA, which is basically another country at this point. I'd say Caleb Sarong's been doing really well. I think Sarong's really come into his own. He's been given a lot of midfield minutes now. He's been a lot of contested ball winning, and obviously he's been helped with having Sean Darcy as the number 1 hit out to advantage ruckman in the competition. But I think Sarong's gone about a really wonderful job in taking over that mantle of a leader of the midfield over someone like a Brayshaw, who has had a lot of praise in recent times. I think Sarong's just quietly next to him now, I'd say.
Interesting.
I don't know if Sarong's really that underrated, though. I mean, Brayshaw was out for like 3 or 4 weeks, and it was Sarong Town everywhere in the media. Not to put any, fire on what you
putting
said.
some fire on what I said, mate.
For North, I'd probably say Hugh Greenwood. Cunnington's been out for the majority of this year. I doubt he's going to come back at all. And Hugh's been doing a lot for us, either in the contested work, but also in the forward line. Kind of someone with like Wardlaw and Sheasel and Phillips and all these other kids who are coming through. He's been that really big mainstay player. I know last week he kicked a couple of goals and is generally good for 1 or 2 every game. Incredibly strong through the hips, even though he is so skinny compared to like an Ollie Wines or a Boak or someone else. But he just can't get tackled. Generally gets the ball out of a contest. So pretty impressive there.
And got him for a steal as well.
Yeah, and basically got him for free. Yeah,
literally a steal.
Yeah. The one good thing David Noble did at North Melbourne, we got Hugh Greenwood as cover. I think the player flying under the radar for me is probably Bailey Williams from the Dogs.
Okay.
I was going to say Libba, but I think Libba's kind of that third man. It's always Bont, McRae, and then Libba's in there now. Yeah. But Bailey Williams, if you just watch his game, he either's in the back line getting the ball in the transition, kicking it forward, or when he's on the wing, he's passing to one of the forward players. This guy's getting 20 to 30 disposals every game, a couple of goals or setting up goals at least, and no one's talking about him. I would love him to be at my club. And I think there'd be half a dozen AFL teams that would say probably the same thing as well. He's just impressive across the board.
Yeah, I don't mind the Doggies, to be honest. I like the Doggies.
I don't want to win my team.
Nothing against the Doggies, but
He's too hot.
I picked my player. It's going to sound a little bit weird coming from me, but it's Adam Chera from the Blues.
Yep.
I don't watch. Look, I'll be honest. I don't watch every single game that every team plays.
Right.
I don't have time for that. No, I don't think anyone has time for that. But the Carlton games that I do watch, because I hope that they lose, but I do watch them anyway. I like him. I like how he goes about it. Good pickup, and for Carlton, they lost 6 in a row and stuff like that. So the media was on them for another sort of aspect of their team. I think he's gone about it. Maybe not under the radar because he's still a big name sort of player for that team, but I like the way he goes about it.
Yeah, he's really stepped up as well. With kind of Walsh and Hewitt and a few of those other guys not being as impactful.
Yep.
Cripps kind of fallen off a cliff. He's the one that's getting that 35 disposals
Yeah.
every game, man.
Yeah, he's a jet.
He's been in their BNF end of the year.
Yep.
100%.
All right. Just before kind of something talking about the weeks that we're up to at the moment, there's been a proposal, I think maybe on SEN that I heard this week, talking about taking away the 4 weeks of the bye and just making it 1 week off for everybody and turning that week off into a bit of an under-18s carnival, heading into the draft time.
Interesting.
Because a lot of clubs and players are playing their kind of junior footy now. A lot of kind of the under-18 teams are playing in Northern Knights, Sandringham Dragons, all that kind of thing.
Yep.
Having a bit of a carnival there where teams can come on and players can come on and really show off and have some names going into the draft that people actually know.
Yeah.
What do you guys feel about that?
Oh, please. I hate Carlton, but I hate these 4 weeks of buys more than anything in the football world at the moment. It's stupid. What, the other week, Geelong and the Suns got just a week off for themselves?
Yep.
No way. Like, remember when it used to be split? I remember we used to get Sydney the next week after our bye. If they split it, if they do an under-18s carnival, or I was even thinking the other day, and it's funny that you bring it up, an AFLW state of origin would be sick. Because the girls, I don't really know how much, with their training when they start. I know the girls have kind of started training at the moment, and it might not work out, but if they could do like get the feel for a state of origin, I think that would be absolutely sick. And it ties in with an under-18s carnival. Just make it kind of like gather round, if you would.
You could make it a week full of games. Have like something on the weekend, something during the week,
like
whatever.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and even a Monday if you really wanted to. But I would absolutely be down for an AFLW state of origin.
Yeah.
What? Why not have 3 games of football each week for the span of 4 weeks? It's like, this is awesome, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who the hell at AFL House thought that was a good idea?
Yeah.
Like, let's be real. Then there was no consultation whatsoever with the fans. Like, this is by far not what any of us wanted. That would be so good. It also goes such a long way towards getting the footy community more used to the names of all of these women who are playing in AFLW, which is still incredibly rigorous. And if we're genuine about getting equality here in terms of the opportunity as well as the potential for exposure,
perfect
then we
week for it.
need to have it 100% be more highlighted when everyone is in the swing of football and watching football.
Yeah.
We're leaving at the end of the year when people go away on holidays and things like that. It's like, oh yeah, we're giving you an opportunity. No, be real. Play them at that week. I think it'll be great.
100%. What do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, more footy on, have some different players playing, even if there is AFLW stuff happening, put that in as well.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent and a big lover of how the NFL do the draft and how the NBA does the draft, that kind of thing. And having a little bit more exposure of the players now, instead of, I'm watching the draft and say, who is my team picked?
Yeah.
I'm stuck looking at Cal Toomey trying to explain in 20 seconds why this guy's a good fit for my team. I'm like, where's the footage of this thing happening, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to have everything going on. It doesn't have to be every day, but something.
Give
the fans something.
Source, trust me, bro.
Yeah.
And anything's better than like the China game back in round 8 and then trying to fit in the rest in 3 weeks. So
I absolutely agree with you. They really do need to do something because just a clean break. Okay, rounds 14, you all play. Not round 15, but the next week you've got off. Go do whatever you want to do, and then round 15. Like, what? And you know what I hate it as well. I hate a lot of things, but you know what I hate as well is when there is only 4 games or whatever, how many games are. They'll chuck one on a Thursday, and then on Saturday there's nothing to do.
Yep.
It's like, I don't want to watch iFish TV. Like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Well,
like, put a game on. Like, if you're gonna have these bye weeks, don't put a game on Thursday and put it to put it on the weekend.
So stupid.
What's that, Dave? We've been sponsored by. We've got a new sponsor, iFish TV.
We love iFish TV here at Fancast.
It's interesting. Another point I had here. Another question was: do you guys think kind of like the top 6 or the top 4 has actually been locked in now? Saw a stat talking about how Brisbane and maybe not the Dogs, but Collingwood and Melbourne and Geelong. It's kind of like locked into that, or at least kind of really competitive for that top 4. Can anyone else kind of break into that now, or do you think that maybe it's a fight for positions 5, 6, 7, 8 at this point?
You can take this first one, man.
Look, I reckon top 4, we got Port, Collingwood, Melbourne, Brisbane. I think these four are the best four.
Sorry, Port, I forgot you.
Geelong are certainly capable of being in there. So if anyone outside of the top four, I think only Geelong's the only one that can crack in.
Yep.
Top 8 definitely not locked in.
No.
Saints not locked in.
Essendon,
We are certainly
not
locked in.
Doggies probably not as well, and then the Adelaide.
Adelaide need to win some more away from home.
Yep.
They need to find a way to win away from Adelaide Oval.
Well, if you're looking at that ladder there, Essendon 6, St Kilda 5. You guys are only one game out of the top four. Look, Port Adelaide. Look, if Collingwood win this weekend against Adelaide, we've got, what is that, 2 or 3 games, or 3 games on Melbourne on third place, and Port Adelaide would have the same.
Yep.
And if we lose, we've got 2 games. So that's a really good position for Port Adelaide and for Collingwood. So I would think the top 2 is probably locked in.
Yep.
We've got the opportunity to lose 3 games before we drop out.
Yep.
So that's huge, right?
Yep.
But that rest, 3, 4, 5, 6, and even 7, the Doggies, it is going to be, no pun intended, but an absolute dogfight going into the end of the year. And like you said, if Geelong even get up to 8th, I'd be scared. I'd be absolutely scared to play Geelong any week of the finals, let alone when they're just hanging on by the grit of their teeth.
It makes that 24th round of AFL kind of really impactful, doesn't it? If you've got teams like this and they're 1 or 2 wins away, instead of being like, well, we need to win the next 3 or 4, 3 or 5's a much better percentage to be able to do that. Looking at the teams outside of the 8, we've talked about Geelong. Is there anyone else there who you think is a chance to break in?
There's a lot of talk about Richmond. If Andrew McQualter he has been getting them firing. He's done a lot. Damien Harwick couldn't find another way to grill the sausages or whatever he said.
But it's done a million times. Yeah. Couldn't find 1,000,001.
Well, that's it. It's really only Geelong and Richmond. Like, do Richmond play this week? I don't know if they play this week, but it literally is those 2.
They had the week off last week.
Yeah, so it's just those 2 teams. No one else. It's going to be inches. It's going to be inches. It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be insane.
And that's what we want, right? We want we want it to be close.
We said at the start it's going to be really close.
Yep.
You could tell there's a lot of improvement in the competition. There's got to be some stagnation from somewhere.
Yep.
And it's just like, geez, it's coming together so well. Oh, mate. We make finals somehow.
Unfortunately, looking back at kind of the win-loss ratio of the teams who are in the top 8 at the end of the season, hopefully it's not the ones that play West Coast, North and Hawthorn twice, but I really feel like it's going to be those teams.
Yeah, and look, I'm a big, anyone that I sort of talk to and who will ever give me a soapbox to kind of stand on to say this, but the AFL will never be fair until every single team plays each other twice, or if they can't do that, which I don't think they can because that's 36 games or whatever it may be, 34 games. There is the teams. If Collingwood, we should verse 17 other teams first before we start doubling up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why the hell are we playing Adelaide again before we play Hawthorn?
Yep.
Before we play Gold Coast? Before we play Fremantle? It's absolutely crazy. Like, but then you'll have some teams that'll verse West Coast twice or verse North Melbourne twice. It's very as it is right now. It's very, very unfair. Not just for Collingwood. I'm just saying for the AFL in general. If they can't do double ups home and away like the EPL does, A-League they verse each other like 3 or 4 times or whatever that may be. If they can't do double ups of games, it has to be 17 teams you play. And then you start doubling up.
And that number's only going to get bigger with Tassie coming in.
There you go.
With potentially another team as well. Imagine Supercoach, Joe, when there's 40 weeks in Supercoach because everyone's playing each other twice. Mate, we'll be in trouble.
Nah, it's great as it is. We get to play North and West Coast twice. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Fixturing is awesome.
Mate,
See, that's what I meant.
If Essendon don't get stuck in the top 8 this year, something's wrong with your side, I tell you what.
Mate, look, I 100% agree. I mean, how do you not play everybody first before doubling up? It makes no sense.
Like, no one... You could ask someone that follows the English Premier League, someone that follows the MLS or the NBA, they'd call you crazy. They would think that you're just a bush league, because that's pretty much what we are.
Yep.
If we want to be taken seriously, do some serious things. Like, it's not that hard to say 17 games, and then, okay, you can double up on Carlton, you double up on Essendon. You guys can double up. And then, those last 5 games or whatever it may be, by round 15, so like the kind of round we're in now, you can kind of see that West Coast, North, Hawthorn and Sydney are the bottom 4. Okay, you guys can verse each other twice because it's not really going to matter too much, right? But why would you say, oh, okay, cool, Port Adelaide get to verse West Coast twice because we had it pre-booked from last year, and they're on the top of the ladder, and Collingwood miss out on going onto the ladder by bloody 20% because Port Adelaide beat West Coast by 300 points combined.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see how they actually do the fixturing. I know it's pretty much like a well-kept secret, but say, hey, if we have to verse 1.5 of the league, every 2 years you verse the top 6 twice or top 8 twice, and then the next time you verse the bottom 8 twice. And then at least, you're playing the good teams twice and then the bad teams twice every 3 years.
Yeah. No, I agree.
It's at least something.
I agree. And even just the fixturing just in general, I always bring it back to the Premier League because I'm a huge Premier League fan. So when the season just finished, Manchester City won, my boys, all well and good. 2 weeks after that, or 3 weeks after that, they go, bang, here's who we're versing for the next, so-and-so games. Or the fixture's already out. With the AFL, not only are we still waiting for the AFLW fixture, we don't know how many games these girls are playing.
Yeah.
The AFL takes 6 months or whatever it is before we know, and before we can book flights, and before we can book hotels, and
the rolling,
it's just,
as it comes out.
If you say 17 teams, here's your first 17 rounds of fixturing, and we'll figure out the end of the rounds by round 15. All for it, and I don't care if if West Coast who they verse in the first couple of rounds, that doesn't really bother me. It shouldn't be Essendon have got an easy fixture because they verse West Coast and Kangaroos twice. It shouldn't be. There should be none of that. It should all be eliminated.
Yeah. Do you guys want to talk about anything before we head off?
Yes, I want to talk about what this man is wearing right now. Mm-hmm. This here, point it to the camera. That logo.
This is a logo, ladies. A beautiful logo that has logo. No reason to be changed whatsoever.
What are your thoughts on all this talk about changing? We'll start with you because you're obviously the Bomber fan here.
Yes. Look, I don't know. I've always thought that a logo is meant to be something that identifies a brand, that can be recognizable, stands for something, represents something. And when I look at this, I'm thinking, this is a bomber plane, and the words Essendon there. So that's what it does its job.
It does.
It's like, this is like the definition of a logo. I feel, right? There's no mistaking it for anything else.
Yep.
Now, I understand that it hasn't changed since 1996 or whatever it is when it first came into the league. It's one of the most, I suppose, the longer lasting logos. And then it always just comes down to a question of, is it really important for the logo to be maintained the same? Because many teams have changed their logos in the past. Am I someone that wants to have my logo changed? Not necessarily.
North Melbourne definitely have. We've had quite a few. Mate. If you go back over the time, it's almost as many as jerseys in the last 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, well, so have the Pies. We just changed it recently. And I absolutely love our logos. I just pulled up the Essendon logos as well. Can I just say before you keep continuing, that logo, the one that you've got on the other side, the 150 years.
Yeah,
I love that.
That is beautiful.
I love it. You're still the Bombers, but yes. I love that it goes back to, what would you call it? Back to like the old school sort of looking
with the monogram.
Yeah, the monogram. I love a monogram.
I love a monogram. Yeah. Oh, monograms hit hard. But look, it's something that the club hasn't fully. Obviously, we're going to change it 100%. It's still in its infancy in terms of the research and trying to rebrand and spice things up and get things a bit different. I mean, I imagine that the membership team probably and the marketing team has been, probably not had too much to sell in recent times. And then thinking, look, we're starting a new chapter now, new president, new CEO, new board, new coach, new everything basically. So it makes sense for maybe for the look to change. I personally don't have the biggest qualms with them deciding to change the logo itself. The two things though that for me are non-negotiable are having the red sash and being called the Bombers.
Yep.
As long as we've got these two things, I've got no problems with them changing the look of this. I hope it's nothing like woke or PC in terms of it's representative of it's glorifying war. It's like it's not.
I don't think that's it at all.
It's a bomber plane.
Yeah.
You can't make it look less.
What if
like
they
a
did like
plane.
the flying mosquito? Like you guys have the mascot. What if they put
Skeeter.
that down?
Skater.
What if they put that down the logo? Would you be happy?
No. But the Bombers.
But he could be a bomb. Like,
What
he
are
could
the
be a plane.
mosquitoes?
He could be a plane, like as a just standing up with legs. You know.
A bomber skeeter.
Yeah, why not?
Look, if it looks good, I won't say no.
Yeah.
I'm keeping an open mind about this thing. But, I mean, you guys have had logo changes.
Yeah.
Have you felt any differently about your team as a result?
I think a logo change, and you know, again, Manchester City changed their logo as well,
Yeah.
right? So I like a logo change, not if it's kind of called for, like you said. If you're going to a new era, a new like administration, and you want to sort of freshen up the
Yeah.
place, you know, you're not going to live in the same house for 100 years without doing a couple of renovations. So,
course.
you know, these things get looked at. Everything will get looked at that club, the training base or this or that or whatever it may be. It all gets looked at as part of a broader sort of perspective. But I like Collingwood's new logo. I like their old logo. I really couldn't give two stuffs as long as we're trying to win premierships. To be honest,
100%.
this sort of stuff, when fans get all up in arms and don't change, like I get it. It's passionate. I love it. Amazing. If they tried to take the Magpie off our logo, I'd be pretty fuming as well.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you know, unless you got it tattooed on you, it's just a magpie.
Yeah.
It's just a bomber. That might be
you get to show off the
negligent
retro
of me
round.
to sort of say. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, look, I like a logo change as long as it's called for.
Yes.
They're not just changing it willy nilly every couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was a 150th one designed specifically
Yeah.
for the 150th. Makes sense in commemoration. We're basically a new administration. It makes sense for a bit of a refresh in the logo. And I can understand some people might think it's starting to look a bit dated.
Yeah.
Look, I don't have an eye. I'm not in graphic design or art or any of that stuff, so I can't tell you if it's looking dated or not. But look, I'm totally happy to see what they come up with, as long as the final decision gets a lot of support from the fan base, because at the end of the day, it represents our team.
Mate, and it's representative of when you guys last won a final. So, you know, that was relevant then and it's still relevant now. So
Am I being roasted by a North Melbourne fan right now? Let's pull up that ladder again, shall we?
Well, look, just quickly, to kind of finish up on that note, Richmond's new logo, their tiger, looks sick. Western Bulldogs, their new logo, looks sick.
Yep.
West
Adelaide.
Coast. I don't really like Adelaide's one. That's what I was going to get at. Adelaide's logo change for just no sort of reason. I don't like that. I don't like
Sure.
that crow. He looks so weird. I wish they changed their logo again.
Yeah.
But if we're going to say that someone does need a logo change and does need a bit of an uplift, Gold Coast Suns.
Yes.
yeah.
I cannot
Yeah.
stand their brand at the
Yeah.
moment. Oh, amazing. Gold Coast Suns as a name,
No worries.
sick.
Yeah.
I love it. Their colours, I love it.
Yeah.
Their brand though, holy
Yikes.
moly, hooly dooly.
Mate,
Do something for me.
As long as they don't do something like the Teletubbies and put like a face inside a sun,
Yeah.
then we're onto a winner. I agree. GWS is kind of the same. There's no animal, there's no anything. It's just like a G
Yep.
on there, and it kind of it's hard for the kids to be like, hey, I go for this team, I wear the branding, when it's just like a G. When
Yeah.
it's Gold Coast Suns and it just says Gold Coast Suns on it.
Yeah.
Like, come up with something better,
How do you
guys.
draw a giant though? Just going to put a person there. Just,
Yeah, but
just-
you
just
could
the
be like
humans.
a big ugly giant or something. You know, it doesn't have to.
Give me a sexy
I-
G. Give me a
I-
top G as
I-
opposed to.
I don't get paid to do this, Joe.
Yeah.
I leave it for someone else. I can just complain that I don't like it.
Fair.
And before we wrap up, just on this as well, Tasmania.
Yep.
I'm big. I've had a lot of opinions on this podcast.
They got to
I
get
apologise.
that.
That's
They
why
got to
you're
get
here,
that
mate.
Tassie Devils.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
What do you think they should be called, and what do you think their branding should be? Jez?
I think that it has to be the Devils. The only problem is that like the under 18s team is also called the Devils, plus all that Warner Brothers stuff. But I think it's perfect for them. It's kind of iconic. This animal's from Tasmania. Not being Tassie native, I don't know what else they have, but that's all I know from Tassie.
Yep.
Like you could make it the Tassie Tigers, but then their win-loss ratio, their finals berths is extinct as the Tassie Tigers. So, you know, that wouldn't work out well for them. I think Tassie Devils is the way to go.
I mean, what else do they have?
Exactly.
Interesting.
I mean,
I don't like it only because I know, and I got bloody roasted on this for Twitter a couple months ago. Devils, demons.
Demons.
I know, looking at them, they're different things, right? I know, looking at them, that they're different things. On paper, they're not. a devil and a demon. I play Dungeons and Dragons. They're literally the same thing.
Right.
If I'm attacking a devil, I'm attacking a demon. Right.
Yeah.
They could make it. They could spin it and do like a Hell Bowl Cup against Melbourne. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Right. A devil and a demon. That would be sick. What I really like was the Tasmanian Rangers. They're known for a lot of their wildlife, a lot of their, I think 40% of their, and you don't quote me on this, but or a lot of their native wildlife and their landscapes and stuff like that is heritage listed. So putting them as the Rangers and going green, white, brown and yellow or something of that of that nature. The alliteration is Tasmanian trouts. They're good for their seafood. The salmons, that's a little bit of fun, but I don't mind the Rangers.
Yep.
The Devils, just because of the demons, it's just it's just like having a magpie and an Australian magpie, and then another form of magpie or something like that. It's just like they're different, but they're the same in a sense.
I don't mind it as much. I mean, we've got like 3 or 4 teams that are birds,
but they're birds though.
Yeah.
I
just did a quick Google search. Tasmania is well known for having the cleanest air in the world. So
the Tasmanian oxygens, we love it.
the Tasmanian airs.
The Tasmanian airs.
Yep.
Well,
Air Tassie.
The Tasmanian Hurricanes, isn't it? Or Hobart Hurricanes.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's cricket.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like they have the
Jack Jumpers. I
the
think
Jack Jumpers.
They're the basketball team.
Yeah, and they could have been the Tasmanian Devils as well. I think the Launceston Jack Jumpers or the Tasmanian Jack Jumpers. They're one of them, but they could have been the Devil as well. So I just want them to be just creative. Just give me something that no one's expecting. The Islanders is cool, Tasmanian Tridents because they've got 3 points at Launceston, Hobart, and there's someone else down the bottom.
All the convicts, because we send all the convicts there.
Look, anything is going to be a fun spin. I think Tasmanian Devils it's probably what they're going to go for. It's what they're known for. It's what everyone in the AFL associates them with. It's a no-brainer, but just be a little bit more fun,
I can't wait for this team to come in and just suck up all the draft picks, and anyone rebuilding just gets shafted. That would be so great.
Well, that's why everyone's re-signing till 2029. The big question is going to be where's the 20th team? Because like Gold Coast and GWS, they're going to do one, and then a year or two later, the next one's coming in. AFL does not want to buy every week. It's going to screw up fixturing. It's going to screw up teams.
More than it already is.
Yeah, they want to have that 20th team in straight away. Where do you guys reckon it's going to be? Can you give us a prediction?
South Australia.
You reckon?
Yep. I think they're big enough to hold a third team.
Wow.
And they're a big footballing.
Nice.
Maybe Northern Territory, or, you could even relocate the Suns to Manuka Oval. Sort of, is that Cairns?
No, Manuka's Canberra.
Oh, no, sorry. Giants to Manuka Oval. Giants down to Canberra because...
They play home games there anyway.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Push them down, become the Canberra Giants. Greater Western Sydney is just... it doesn't do it for me.
It's a glorified Canberra team anyway.
That's exactly what I mean. Give them an absolute identity, like you were just talking about. Make them the Canberra Giants. But yeah, I think South Australia.
What do you reckon, Joe?
I can't imagine Giants coming out of Canberra. Let's be real. They're all politicians. There's no you can't have giant politicians. No.
The Canberra money grabbers,
Yeah, exactly. The Canberra Lions.
Don't cancel us, please.
The Canberra Lions. I would say Northern Territory. I mean, it's just like, how do you have... I mean, obviously I can understand South Australia's got the demand for footy.
Yep.
But it's just like, good luck trying to peel them away from these two deeply ingrained teams already. I just feel like...
Yeah, that's fair
I feel like Northern Territory, there's a lot of fans there, and whenever every second year we take Dreamtime at the G up there.
Yep.
It's very successful. It's always very full, and they pack the stadium there. Obviously, it's not a very big stadium, but they still pack it up. So I'd say Northern Territory.
And Gold Coast, whenever they play their games up there, there's people
That's true as well.
Yeah.
My pick's going to be another WA team. I think they've got enough fans hanging around. West Coast has got, 100K members plus a massive wait list. If you had another team that maybe they build a stadium that's a little bit smaller, maybe they run it out of Optus again, like MCG's got 5 or 6 teams, Marvel's got the same.
There's an starter breach.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how we go, but I reckon they could totally facilitate another team there.
Yeah, you're right. We talked about that thing in episode 1 about, or might have been off air, where West Coast have got so many members on the waiting list that it blew me away.
Fans will pay money for a membership if they can go to the footy and watch their team every week.
And they could be called the Quackers. Isn't that out of Western Australia?
Rottnest Island. Is in Perth,
There you go, Rottnest Oh my God, I can't say it. Rot nest quackers.
Done.
Actually, don't call them that. I can't pronounce it. I can't yell at them.
Perfect.
Look, guys, that's been this episode of Fancast. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We really do appreciate it. Follow us on all our social media channels: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, of course. Like, comment, subscribe. We love you all, and we'll see you next time.
Yep.
On
Catch
the
you
flip
guys.
side.